Hello guys, this is Gamma. Today I'll be showing a little script I did to address the textures issues. But before going to the meat of it, I'm going just to make a small recap of what we are dealing with. So basically, we have three different levels of texturing applied by the Arma engine. So this is the texture, the satellite texture map, which is being applied. You can see it has a very low resolution. We then have the detail map, as we can see here, the rocks. It is overlaid with the satellite map, and then we have also the texturing, close range texturing, which is dependent on the distance. It's only shown at a very small distances. So I'm going back to this position so that we can see. This is a very high resolution one, 1 pixel per centimeter, more or less about that. So now to the script I did before that. Bohemia recently provided a small updates to scripting commands, specifically setDetailMapBlendPars, which allows us to dynamically or via scripting adjust the transition. I'm going just to make an example of it. So if, for example, we set the transition to happen at 200 meters, we can see over there the transition to its full effect. So the detail map here, the high resolution close range map here, texture here. In this case, there's also an issue with the patterning, so we are pretty much limited to how much can we increase this value, even if we do some smoothing to that transition like that. So, for example, now the transition is occurring within 400 meters, so it's much softer, but still, of course, at close range we have all this patterning effect. The first thing I thought about doing was, what if we adjust these parameters dynamically? So depending on the FOV that we are seeing, we adjust that transition and how wide that transition is. So I'm going to activate the mod. The mod, in this case, just a script, mission script that we can use. So, for example, you can see that it's now transitioning and moving further away, depending on the center of your screen and, of course, the distances. Currently, the most key values of the FOV which are being extracted or used are those between the blue sphere and the red sphere. This value can also be adjusted dynamically, so I'm going to use the full screen so that we can see a more soft transition occurring. So this is only part of it, of course, because this can deal with the transition dynamically, but there's still some issues, mostly regarding this repeating pattern that is still observable even at these smaller FOVs. But if we look at, I'm going to disable these spheres, hold on, so that we can have, for example, this area here, you can see the transition is smooth and it's progressing, but there's a very good effect over here because you have three textures contributing to the confusion of and detail of pixels of that area over there. and it is the best effect is of course achieved in the middle of the screen, to a lesser extent at the top or the bottom of the screen, of course. But at the middle, which is the center of your vision, of course, you have a pretty neat effect. Now I'm going to restart Arma, now with two modified textures, so that I can show you the effect of the script to its full extent. So what if we have a better detail map? What if a mid-range map? What if we have a better close range map? Close range that does not repeat as much, a mid-range that provides even higher detail or variance to our tests and terrain. So let's go to it. Also, in regards to the performance, the script is totally usable. We can adjust also how many updates we have. Currently it is working. I'm going to disable again the debug, and also going to set it back. Oops, set this value back to the not as wide as possible, something like this, 16 and 2. So those are the limits. The effects, as you can see from this perspective, there is no patterning effect, yet the close range texture is already being shown at the middle of the screen, but there's no patterning effect. Well, at least it is reduced to a great deal. If we are going to close up, you can see the transition is pretty acceptable between the mid-range and the close range, and now it's with even greater, smaller FOV but greater amplification or zoom, we can see the effect that this allows us to bring. Even in the place where that dreadful close range dry grass was repeating, you can still see it, but this can also be dealt with to an extent. But you can see, for example, in these parts where there's more, for example here, yeah, look, so you have the three textures in effect, and the result is, in regards to camouflage of potential enemy units on this area, is much bigger. I'm going to just show the difference. So let's go back to false, bang, oops, here, going to disable and specifically set it to near the defaults. Yeah, of course, this is with the mid-range detail, which is customized, which already attempts to increase the detail over there. To some extent, this texture, which is customized by me, is good, but of course there's issues with it, mostly at the areas where it's the terrain is not is urban. For example, over there, it's not, the effect over there is no good. We're not expecting this kind of detail, very organic, at this place, neither over there. So, but this is actually already dealt with by using this script. So, going to activate it. As you can see, you have the concrete transition to the detail texture. Of course, at the top of the screen, the detail texture is still there, but once again, we can set these parameters to for example, like this. I'm not sure if I'm going to be very successful. Notice I'm going down, but I can also do backwards, for example 9, 18, and the concrete is now almost exclusively seen with these parameters. So the parameters are possible to use, it's possible to set the parameters to better effects depending on the actual distance or whatever, what have you. So this is the effect of the script. Some places it's pretty neat. I'm going also to show you at different height you also have a good effect. You can see this actually makes it more pronounced, the different usages of surface type. As you can see, you have the different types being used, much more noticeable with this script and these parameters. Once again, of course, I can do this to try to soften it, and there you go. So this is just a matter of setting the parameters depending on the distance. The script already tries to make the transitions pretty soft. So even if you have some jumps in the terrain relief, I mean the topography of the terrain is like this, whereas there's valleys and mountains. It already adjusts more or less progressively from one terrain to another, always trying to have 50% of each texture at the middle of the screen. So the video is already long, but I think this new command that Bohemia provided us may actually allow us to bring even better effects. So this combined with better textures, I would also make an appeal to Bohemia in this video in regards to changing the surface type. I mean the close range textures should be enabled. Modders should be able to change those textures, not on the fly, but at least via config. Currently that's kind of hard-coded to the map, to the island map, and only by changing the whole bunch of textures we can do it, and that's over 200 megabytes just to change one specific texture, which was what I did here. I changed the dry grass over there. It was the only texture that I changed, customized. Of course, ideally I would also change the green grass over there, which also suffers a bit from patterning, which can be ameliorated too, and that's valid for all the surface types, and those are, I believe, at are a maximum of 16. So I appeal Bohemia to allow us modders to modify those textures, once again via config at least. So that's it. Sorry for the lengthy video, but I think we have good stuff coming up. Thank you. See you the next time, guys.